Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Legal Anchor. Today we will be talking about port and harbour laws, towage, salvage and pilotage. So first of all, let's understand the port and harbour laws. We're here today we're the Marine Police, and we're here actually to be specific. This location is where the Fire Brigade Marine Division is located. So behind me, as you can see, we're by the Kingston Harbour. Now, for vessels who are entering Jamaica's territorial waters, they will have to ensure that they uphold the laws of the land, because we know the territorial sea now falls within the ambits of domestic law. So persons coming in to do business via ships, to do their business here, have to ensure that they uphold the laws of Jamaica. So in upholding the laws of Jamaica, that means our ports have various laws. Why do our ports have these laws? To ensure there's a minimum standard. This standard has to be maintained internationally. So the port ensures that it has these standards, so ships coming here will feel comfortable to do business here. They'll feel comfortable having their vessels here. We have to remember, vessels are worth millions, up to millions of US dollars. So they want to feel comfortable that when they carry their vessel here, they're carried into a safe environment, not just free from crime, but also from any form of marine hindrances, which is why we see port and harbour laws. One of the most important port and harbour laws that I can think of is the Pilotage Act. The Pilotage Act states that you have mandatory pilotage to come into our waters, which means that from 200 nautical miles, you begin to now have to the service of a marine pilot. What is a marine pilot? This now brings us on to. The marine pilot is also somebody who is of very high importance in the maritime industry in Jamaica, because what they do is they go out and they meet the boat. But we'll be discussing that a little bit further, more in further video. So, in also looking at this, we see that our laws have to ensure that they're very robust. They have to meet international standards, because internationally, ports expect to have a uniformed law when you go to any port around the world. So we'll see that our port right here in Jamaica ensures to uphold these standards. Equally, so you see an example of that is the Port Act. That is a prime example of one of the laws that is there, and I implore you to please take a read of such an act. Then we see the service now also being offered of the pilot. Now this service is mandatory, as we said here in Jamaica, so therefore you cannot get around it. It's equally very important that ships feel comfortable. On top of that, we see salvage and towage. Salvage is where they go out to assist a vessel that might be in distress. It needs help, it has met into some form of distress. Towage, on the other hand, we see is where the vessel is getting a tow. It just needs to be moved from one point to another. Both are upheld under the Salvage Act and the Towage Act. There are international conventions that deal with this, and also our domestic laws. So we see that our port and harbour laws are extremely vast in this country. So we have all of these myriad of maritime laws which ensure that Jamaica is one of the leading maritime destinations in the world. To keep abreast of all of this, a maritime lawyer will be there to guide you throughout this entire procedure. Pilotage is very important. The job of the marine pilot is to ensure that when the boat reaches into our territorial waters, that the boat comes through the channel properly. It is properly navigated. As you will see coming very soon into the frame, you will see one of the pilotage boats that are used here in Jamaica. We have two. We have Kingston 1 and Kingston 2, and those are our pilotage boats that are used. Now pilotage is made mention of under the act of the Pilotage Act. So that law we see ensures that the pilots know exactly what is expected of them. Equally, persons who are visiting or coming into our maritime space know that this pilotage boat here, as you are seeing it coming now into your frame, you're seeing this boat as it makes its way around the territorial waters. What it does is they ensure that as the ships are coming into Jamaica, they meet them at a particular point and they go on board and they pilot the boat. So the boat is, they have what we call a marine pilot. The marine pilot boards the vessel, and when he or she gets on that vessel, they now take over and they pilot the boat in, and this boat goes out to meet them. Now, this job is extremely important because Jamaica has mandatory pilotage. That means you must get a pilot when you enter our territorial waters. You have no choice. You have to take it. To not is a breach of our domestic laws, and you can be denied entry into our country. So we see the Pilotage Act is an extremely important act in our maritime space, and the role of the maritime pilot is extremely important. And this vessel right here, as it is now pulling up, you see it even better. The boat has marine pilots on board, and those marine pilots go out to ensure that the vessels are safely carried into the Kingston Harbour because of the navigational issues that they will understand and know the terrain bringing the boat in. So now that is just a basic understanding of the job of the marine pilot.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of The Legal Corner. With me is Jeremy, an international maritime lawyer who will be giving us concise information on salvage, towage, port and harbour law, and pilotage.
Yes.
So, Jeremy, what is salvage?
Okay, well, salvage is defined under the Salvage Act, and what it is where you go where a vessel goes to the assistance of another vessel that is in some form of a peril. It goes to render assistance to make the voyage a safe one, to get it back to a safe port, I should say.
So, in other words, it's related to ships that are abandoned or ships that's in danger.
Yes, a ship that may be in danger or a vessel. The thing is, the Salvage Act is it gives a very broad definition to the word a vessel. So a vessel is, well, when your viewers read the Salvage Act, they will see that the term or the word used for vessel is given a very broad definition, and it's done so to capture almost anything that may be at sea, that may be in need of assistance.
Yes. So, what are the difference between salvage and towage?
Okay, that's a very good question. Salvage and towage is a question that has actually plagued the legal profession for centuries. So, salvage, as I already said, it is in danger. A towage is merely helping a vessel go from one point to another, so expediting a voyage. A salvage, as you realize, is there in danger. The case of the Minnehaha has taught us that a salvage and towage are two different things, and they cannot happen simultaneously. One occurs after the other or before, however it is. Because a vessel can be engaged in a towage operation, and the towage suddenly turns into a salvage on them, and then it may go back to being a towage. So you see, it's an area of law, especially in maritime, that has given a lot of issues to practitioners and persons who actually operate out at sea. So towage is also guided by the Towage Act. It too is guided by its own laws and regulations. And you see this in the port and harbour laws, because the port and harbour laws of various countries ensure to promote that when you go into their territorial waters, you will feel safe to do business in their waters because your ship will be safe. So as a result of that, you now know that the port and harbour laws of a country expect it to be at a certain standard, and this standard is laid down by law. And we see that Jamaica is one country that upholds very high port and harbour standards, because we have it very high in our country, because we're a major transshipment hub for the rest of the Caribbean and the world. So with us being such a major hub, we have to ensure that our laws are robust, and we have to ensure that our ports and harbour laws are ones that make people feel comfortable coming into our country and into our territorial waters. I'm sorry for hijacking your legal corner. Yes, I'm sorry about that.
So, what are the duties of a salver during a solvent?
Well, what the duties are, they have to ensure that it is done correctly.
Yes.
And it is done that it is actually a success. Those are a lot of the things that are duties of it. We see that this is also as opposed to a towage, where they're just towing the vessel, but also it's going to be done expeditiously, and it too lays down its very own regulations of how it is to be conducted.
Yes. So why is port and harbour laws so important?
Port and harbour laws are so important because, as I said, these are vessels calling from all over the world. Now, we want to have a robust maritime industry, because we know the more ships that call there, the more gross tonnage that we have coming into our waters, we earn more money. It is revenue for the state. And the maritime industry is a major revenue earner for foreign exchange for Jamaica. So as such, we have to ensure that our laws are robust and that persons feel comfortable. We have to ensure that the Port Act of Jamaica, so our Port Act is a very strong act. It gives a lot of definition of how the port is to be conducted. We see it right there. So we see all of that with the wharf, what we commonly call the wharf. All of that there is regulated, and it is regulated to international standards. The safety, when people come, how safe they feel. Both the seafarers who are on board that vessel and the persons who work on the wharf itself or on the port itself must have a certain level of comfort that they have in terms of safety, that they know they're being protected, not just from criminals coming onto the wharf, but equally the safety, because remember, these are heavy duty equipment. So how are they going to be navigated? How are we going to ensure that they too have their space on the wharf, and that humans are also on the wharf as well and are well protected?
Okay, that's something to remember. As it relates to Pilotage Act of Jamaica, what does this act, what's the purpose of this act?
Excellent question. The Pilotage Act now of this country is very important. The Pilotage Act is an act under law, and it means a marine pilot, who is a person who works on these vessels, they have to conduct themselves in a particular way. They ensure that the Port Act of Jamaica, so our Port Act is a very strong act. It gives a lot of definition of how the port is to be conducted. We see it right there. So we see all of that with the wharf, what we commonly call the wharf. All of that there is regulated, and it is regulated to international standards. The safety, when people come, how safe they feel. Both the seafarers who are on board that vessel and the persons who work on the wharf itself or on the port itself must have a certain level of comfort that they have in terms of safety, that they know they're being protected, not just from criminals coming onto the wharf, but equally the safety, because remember, these are heavy duty equipment. So how are they going to be navigated? How are we going to ensure that they too have their space on the wharf, and that humans are also on the wharf as well and are well protected?
Okay, that's something to remember. As it relates to Pilotage Act of Jamaica, what does this act, what's the purpose of this act?
Excellent question. The Pilotage Act now of this country is very important. The Pilotage Act is an act under law, and it means a marine pilot, who is a person who works on these vessels, they have to conduct themselves in a particular way. They have to do their job as mandated by the Pilotage Act. The Pilotage Act, one of the most important parts of the Pilotage Act is that you have mandatory pilotage for vessels calling in Jamaica. So once they reach into our navigable waterways, territorial waters, they are assigned a pilot to come in safely into our port. And this is by law. If they do not take the pilot, they are in breach of the law. They cannot even come in if they do not have a marine pilot piloting them in. The pilot boat will go out and meet that vessel. They will climb, the marine pilot will climb what is known as a Jacob's ladder. That's a ladder that they throw over the side of the boat. They climb up this ladder, very steep ladder. They climb up it, get onto the vessel, go onto the bridge, and they pilot that boat. They take the role of the captain. The captain steps aside and they take the role, and they are the one that bring the boat in because they know the waterways. They know where all of the pitfalls and everything are, the reefs and everything that can cause the ship to ground. So therefore that is their job, to ensure that this vessel makes it safely to the port. That is why they're so important, and that is why at law they're equally important, because under the law, remember, the captain has a role and function. He's now giving up his role and function to a pilot who is somebody strange, who was not given the job that he has been given. So now the pilot has under law be protected by everything he does. He or she does to bring that boat into the port safely.
I must say it's an informative discussion, Jeremy, and
thank you.
Learning a lot. Salvage, towage, port and harbour law, pilotage. It's a good discussion.
It's very interesting.
So this is the end of our episode on the Legal Corner. I'm Tony Johnson. Peace out.